Well, Paul, a big thank you for joining us. Before we have a bit of a on-field catch-up and talk about the York City Knights match on Monday night, just a bit of an update on Jared Sammett as well, because he did pick up a bit of a nasty injury, didn't he, at Halifax? How's he doing?
Yeah, he's doing okay. Trained last night. In the game, it was just an innocuous challenge, really. I spoke to Simon Griggs after the game, and there was nothing. I looked at it on video. There's nothing. He just backed into the defender, and then just seemed to fall on top of him. So he was down for a long time, 7 or 8 minutes. It's a worry. They put him in a neck brace and they took him off the field on a stretcher. It seemed fine in the changing room, but it was protocol that he goes to a hospital and had a scan. He didn't get out till late on the Sunday evening, but he did come up on Wednesday, and we kept him out of contact, and he trained. So depending on how he goes to the end of the week, whether he'll play or not. It wasn't a concussion, so it's not a mandatory 10 days. So you just see how his body is before we put him in.
Well, that's great news, and so did our best to Jared as well. Let's talk about on the field then before we talk about the York City Knights match. It's been a tricky April, hasn't it? With away trips to the Shea and to take off Featherstone Rovers at the new stadium. So hardly to nothing, I'm going to suggest. But how have you found it with the injuries as well? We have to throw that in there at this stage too.
Yeah, it was always going to be a difficult month for us. We spoke about that before the month, and to get 2 points out of the 3 games, which was Bradford. We haven't won there since for 59 years, and that was on the bell when we're in so much control. And then again, we went to Featherstone, which was a tough gig for anybody. They're just tearing it up. I watched them play Bradford. I thought Bradford played very well on the Monday night game, and they're just very difficult to stop. The ruck speed's phenomenal through the middle. They've got smart players that can. Carella, who never switches off, who can get you just with his support playing across the board. They've built a fantastic team, but for 1.2 million or whatever they've spent, you're nearly at Super League. So we're a long way off that. So for us to get 2 points at Featherstone, Halifax and Bradford, I would probably bit your hand off to get 2 points at one of them teams. So, and we're through that now. We've got a run of home games.
You say you're not, you're quite far off that, but you're actually only 5 points off that, which I'm going to suggest, as we head towards May, if I told you you'd be that close to Lee and Fev headed into the month of May, you'd just snap my hand off, wouldn't you? I'd imagine at the start of the season.
Yeah, definitely. If you just look at all the teams that are not picking up points, they're all quality, and it's so difficult in the Championship to pick up points up. I looked at the start. Halifax had it. It was a very hard start. James Webster, a friend of mine, and he just said that they're capable of going on a 7 or 8 game run after the start they've had, and they've done that. They're a quality side. We had to go there. It's always difficult. We're in the game. I think it was 8 points was in it just before half time till Jared Sammett was stretchered off, and then just on 30 seconds before half time put the ball into touch on a yardage play, and instead of kicking the ball, and they scored off that, which was they give them that extra cushion. And then it's very difficult to pick up your scoreline away from home against a really tough top quality side. You've got to be leading them games, I think, like we did at Bradford, and hang on, because at some point momentum changes. But I think they had all the momentum. We had Sam Essay off the bench. We had 1 rotation in the second half, which it was always going to be difficult. But to get the start we've had, we're in dreamland really, to be up there with the big teams at the top of the division, especially with it coming up this year.
And obviously, you're not the only head coach who has to deal with injuries, but they are something you have to deal with. How has that challenge been? Because you've made some loan signings, haven't you, recently? You've got to integrate them into the squad and all your processes and that side of things. So how challenging has that been, based on the fact you've had to play away matches as well for the last few weeks or so?
Well, the biggest thing when you come up out of Champ 1 is to get a good start, or for any of the lower teams that are predominantly around the bottom end of the table or mid-table. It's important that you get a good start, because injuries get everybody. We've had to. Paul Rawley's been great for us. He's a friend of mine. Let us have players at the right time. We have played the players that have come in because it gives our own squad a rest when we can't bring players in. We play Featherstone in the Cup. We can't bring any loan players in for that game. We're just solely on our own players, and we're pretty skinny at the moment. Ryan Shaw's back this week, so Jack Croft goes goes back to his parent club or goes to Newcastle, whichever, and Ryan will come in. So, we're playing our own players, but if we can, we bring players in to give our players a rest. We haven't had any genuine middles since the 2-1 boys were injured and are ill. So we haven't really replaced them. So we've tried to bring middles in to compensate for that, because we're bringing back rowers or playing back rowers in the middle to compensate. And in the Championship, it's very, very difficult to do, especially when they're not experienced middles and they're not got the size of some of the teams we're playing against.
Well, back at Craven Park this weekend, on Monday night for this game against the York City Knights. How good will it be to play a home league game in front of a decent crowd?
Well, it's great. Our crowd are absolutely fantastic. They were brilliant at Bradford. Even last when we went to Featherstone and we got beat 58 points, and on a short turnaround, they were magnificent. And at the weekend, they always appreciate the effort the players put in. There was no lack of effort on Sunday. It was just that we weren't good enough. And when we get at home, we get over 2,000 now every game. Probably more this week with the TV cameras there. They do everybody a favour, because I think everybody raises the game when they come to town. And there's a special thing in where there's the hospice staff are invited down. They're going to be mascots, and I think there's a appreciation to the amateur game in the area. So I think there's tickets been handed out to all the staff and coaches of all the amateur sides in the area. So as a community, we're growing, and as a club, we're growing. And it's pretty, when you walk out at home now, from when we first started with 700-800 crowds, when you're over the 2,000 mark, and you get that big game feel walking to the games now, and they're queuing up to get in and in the droves. So it's fantastic, really, what the club have achieved and the board have achieved in a small space of time.
No, cracking stuff. And obviously, like you said, it's on Premier Sports. And the last time you were on Premier Sports, that was a bit of a thriller, wasn't it? Was it Widnes from memory and T-Ritz and stuff?
We come back from 12-0 down. I think Jared Samet sparked the revival there with the scrum play, 20 metres off their goal line. And from then on, we dominated proceedings. And I thought we were very good. I thought Josh Johnson and Jack Wells did really well for us that night. With big middles, you need solid, experienced middles in the Championship. I think once you get that, it's a recipe for success. If you look at all the teams that are doing well, and we got on that night, and it was a blessing really for us. And I say we've done really, really well. We've been competitive in all the games apart from Fev, and that was on a short turnaround. But we've been pretty good. And even at Halifax, I thought for the first 17 minutes, there was nothing between the two sides. And I said to our fellas, we're one pass short of being very good and one tackle short of making that tackle. So we went through a good review, and we were honest with the players. And hopefully this weekend against York, we can put that right, because that'll be a test in itself.
And have you, obviously that's on the pitch, but I know Premier Sports do this thing now with catering, don't they? So is that all sorted?
Well, we have a Lincoln Burgers, which is a business that Steve set up on the ground that they do takeaways and stuff like that. So they do a cracking salt and pepper chips and stuff like that. Our physio, Sean, he drives back to Preston most nights, and he's put about 1.5 stone on since he's been here. So he's on it. So hopefully it'll go down a treat and we'll sell a few.
Excellent news. And just before you go, Paul, just about the challenge of York itself this weekend. Looking at the league table, just 3 points separating you in the league table. It'd be quite handy, wouldn't it? A win on Monday night. It's going to be tough though. What's your thoughts on the actual challenge on the field?
Well, we haven't really had a look at them yet. We've been concentrating on everybody else. Games have been coming thick and fast, so we'll have a look at them this week. They've gone under the radar a little bit this year, and I think they've only been beat by Featherstone and Lee. They're the only team, and Whitehaven in the cup. But I think James put a weakened side out in that game for whatever reason, and they got a win. But just looking at them, they're going about the business really smart. They've got some great players. They've got a big middle, and that's what you need in this competition. And I think nobody's kept their eye off them, but now people are starting to have a look at them. And like I said, they're a big threat on our own ground, and we got to be ready. Whatever team we put out, we've got to be competitive, because we know they'll be there for the 80 minutes, and they've got some style and some class about them. So we've got to be ready for that when they come to town, and hopefully we can give a good account of ourselves, and the game can be really competitive, which is what we want on and to promote our game on the cameras.
And get down there as well. If you're watching this on YouTube, get yourself down to that ground on Monday night is the message.
Yeah, I think it's going to do well. I think the corporate's sold out. It's nearly sold out every week. I think it's bank holiday as well, so there'll be a few there having a drink in the afternoon, priming up for it, and then afterwards I think there's something on the pitch afterwards, and it's a great atmosphere when the marquee's up and the games are finished. I think you get about 100 tables that are put straight on the pitch, and it's a real party atmosphere with a big screen and the music's going, and it's a great place to be. We're definitely on the up as a club, and it's when we walk into training, it's a little bit different on them big games, and after the game as well. It's really a great place to be.